Good morning, everyone. I'm going to talk about how to write a killer resume that can land you an interview in this webinar. And this is strictly about resume. This is not about the interview. I just want to tell you how to write a good resume that will land you calls from recruiters. So we're going to look at various things in this webinar. The first thing we're going to talk about is the component of your resume. What are the things that make up your resume? We're going to talk about that in this webinar. Then we talk about job description. This is not just about your job description, it's also about the description in the role you're trying to apply for. How does your description align with the description in the role you're trying to apply for? We're going to look at that. We'll look at keywords and phrases. You know, every job has its own keywords, and then these keywords and phrases are unique to that job. So if you apply for a job, we're going to look at how you make sure that your job description align with that of the one you're applying for. So we talk about that in this webinar. Then we talk about the ATS Optimization Guide. This is applicant tracking system. This is a software that checks whether you're a good fit for the job. I'll show you how this works as we go ahead. Your accomplishment bullet point. You need to list the things you have accomplished, the awards you received, maybe in the college or on your previous jobs or on your current role. We're going to talk about that. And finally, we talk about resume formatting. How do you format your resume? We're going to talk about that. So we move to the first one. So what are the things that should be in your resume? We're going to look at that briefly. The first thing that a good resume must have is your name. Your name should be boldly written on top of your resume because that is the introduction of who you are to the recruiter or the person that is seeing your resume for the first time. This person doesn't know you. He or she has never met you before. So the only thing they're seeing is your resume, and the first thing they should see is your name, and your name should be at the top of the resume because this is going to introduce you to that person. The next thing that should be on your resume is a phone number, your city, your zip code, email, and your LinkedIn account. This is a different topic entirely. So LinkedIn is very important because it shows your professionalism. It shows how professional you are. And this has happened to me severally. Anytime somebody picks up my resume, they just go to your LinkedIn profile to check you out, to see all the things you have stated in your resume, to see if that is what is on LinkedIn. And one important thing about LinkedIn is that whatever you have on your resume should match what you put on LinkedIn. This is very important. A lot of people miss it here. You put something different on your resume and you have something different on LinkedIn. This should not be so. Your LinkedIn account should align with whatever you have on your resume. This shows your integrity. It shows that you're saying the truth. You're not making up things. So the next thing that should be on your resume is your current role. Like this resume we are looking at is showing that this person, this guy right here, is a business analyst. And that's a peep into who you are. We know your name, okay. We know your phone number, okay. We know the city that you are, okay. Then what are you currently doing? That is important. So you need to put that on your resume. This is a peep into who you are. And then the next one is your strengths and your skills. What are the things you're bringing to the table? You need to put this on top of your resume. You know, when they pick up your resume, when a recruiter or hiring manager picks up your resume, the first place they go is the top of your resume before they begin to go down. They first of all want to know about you, which is all this we're talking about right here. They want to know about you. They want to know what you're bringing to the table for them. So the next one is the summary. Every resume must have a summary. Believe it or not, a summary sells you to the recruiter because it's a peep into who you are. It's like, okay, I am this, I am that. Your summary should describe you without going further down. Let's look at this one that we have. This person says, I'm reliable, I'm energetic, I'm a resourceful data analyst. Okay, the recruiter will be like, okay. And then the person goes further to say, with over 5 years experience experience in analyzing companies' data, the recruiter will be like, oh, okay, this person is experienced and this person is reliable. Okay, let's see. And this can land you a call. A summary is very important. You cannot joke with a summary because it's like an introduction to who you say you are. The next thing that should be on your resume is your work experience. Make sure you have your work experience stated on your resume because you've told the recruiter about yourself and then where have you worked before. You should make sure you state all that. The next thing is the company that you have worked before, and this company must have the city and the state, and they want to see the name of the company. They want to know where the company is situated or located. They want to see that. And the next thing that should be in your resume is the date and the years that you spent on each of the role. They want to know when you did your last job, when you started it, when you finished, and what are you currently doing. They want to see that. So your date should be stated on your resume. The next one is your qualification. You've told the recruiter or hiring manager that, well, I can do this, I can do that, I worked here. What qualified you to work in those places? They want to see that. They want to see the institution that you went to. They want to see the year that you finished. They want to see what certificate you got from those institutions. Another important thing about listing all this in your resume is to always close the gap. If you say you got your bachelor's degree this year, there should not be a gap between the year you finished your school and the year you started your first job. If you have that on your resume, be ready to explain that to the recruiter if you eventually get a call. And there should not be a gap between the first job and the next one. If you have that, be ready to explain that to the recruiter if you eventually get a call. They want to know why you have a gap, what you were doing, and why is there a gap between this job and this job, or between this role and this role, or between the time you graduated from school. Now we go to point 2, which is your job description. This is very important in every resume. You must have a job description, and your job description must state clearly what you're currently doing with that company. And where you're going to hit the nail on the head is if you put your achievement in your job description. Like this one we're seeing right here, it says, I increased the company's revenue by 30% during the year due to accurate data analysis and workable business model that I introduced. This can land you an interview. So make sure you put numbers behind every job that you did or your achievement. It is very important. Keep that and don't throw it away. And the next thing about job description is that you should make sure that whatever you have in your resume aligns with the advertised job. I'm going to show you that how this works in a minute. This will prove that you're a great match for the job that is being advertised. Now, let's go to point 3, keywords and phrases. And this is going to be a continuation of your job description. And every resume is canned based on specific things like the job description. I talked about that, like your soft and hard skills. This is very important. You list your skills, and you can learn this through education or experience. Your job level, you should state whether you're applying for entry level, mid-level, or experience, and then your skills definition. I was talking about your skills definition and in the previous slide. Now, this is a sample of how your resume should match with that which is advertised. Talking about keywords. If you look at the advertised job right here, we have reliable. They said they are looking for a reliable business analyst who will be the vital link between our information technology department and our sales and marketing team by supporting and ensuring the successful completion of data visualization, blah, blah, blah. What I'm trying to bring out here is that the keywords in this advertised job are reliable information technology, data visualization, data query, actionable business model. These are the keywords. Now, this is your resume on the right side of the computer. In your resume, you said you are a reliable, energetic, look at that. This is a keyword that matches that job that has been advertised. And then you go ahead to say you're providing actionable business model. And this advertised job said they are looking for somebody that will provide actionable business model. You can see the way your keywords are matching. And this is a good way to get calls from recruiters, because if they see that all the keywords in your resume match what they have in the job they advertise, you will likely get a call from a recruiter. Now, let's go to the next one. The ATS Optimization Guide. I mean, I never knew about all this. I was just going about doing my thing, and then I wasn't getting any calls. Nobody was calling me, and I was like, why? What am I doing wrong? All the things I mentioned from point 1, 2, 3 are the things that ATS will do for a recruiter. So when you apply for a job, the resume will not go to the recruiter. No, it goes through the ATS software, and whether your resume is going to pass through that stage and get to the recruiter depends on how well your resume is optimized for this ATS algorithm. Algorithm is how things work. So it's how the ATS has been programmed. So if your resume doesn't pass this stage, you might not likely get a call. There are several softwares out there, that companies use to do this. One of them is the job scan. You can Google that and then you find out how it works. But let me show you briefly how that is done. So when you go to job scan, you will see all the guidelines and you will get this. Once you get this, you will see a place where you can paste your resume, and you will see a place where you can paste the job description of the job you're applying for. This one right here is where you're going to paste your own resume, and this is where you're going to paste the job description of that job or the role you're applying for, and then you click the scan button. Then when you do that, guess what? This is what you're going to see. That software is going to match your resume with the role you're applying for. And if you get anything less than 70%, you might not get a call. You might not get a call. Because that algorithm has scanned your resume and saw that you don't fit into what they are looking at. And, you get all these assessments, like this one, the one that was scanned, got 6/7. The recruiter's finding, that means 2/4. I mean, that's a number a lot, And then your skills mark, or maybe the skills the company is trying to look for, you don't even pass that. These are all the things that the software is going to do. You can actually get up to 70% if you follow the rules from JobScan. Please do that. The moment I started doing that, I get calls. I mean, at times I just tell them I'm not open again. If you can do all this, you will thank me later. Trust me. So, we move to the next point. This is your accomplishment bullet point. This is very important. And you should be careful when you're stating all these accomplishments. They should be realistic. They should be things that you really achieve. Because some recruiters want to check. They want to verify. So be careful that all the things you state in your resume are actually real. They are correct. Because they might check it. They might do a background check, and if they find out that they are not true, integrity. So list all your awards, maybe from the school or from the current role you're doing. I mean, just list up all that. It's a boost to your resume. Now, the last point is the resume formatting. How do you format your resume? This is a very important part of every resume, and it gives people a lot of headache because they don't know what to do. They don't know how to format their resume. They just go ahead and just write whatever. I'm going to give you 3 different templates at the end of this webinar. You can edit that to suit your qualification or your role or what you're trying to say. So before I go into this, I want to make something clear. For every kind of job or role you're applying for, use a different resume because they are not the same job description. As I said, different companies have different job descriptions and expectations, regardless if the role is the same. I might be applying for a business analyst role in this company, and I'm applying for a business analyst role in another company. but their expectations are different. The job description, they might not be the same thing. So you need to be careful and always run your resume through ATS before you apply for any job. Make sure you do this. It doesn't cost you anything. It's just you taking bold step, you putting your best foot forward, and this can land you a call from a recruiter. But I'll take that headache off you at this moment. So to format your resume, there are 3 different types of resume formats, and I'll show you that. So if you have a resume that is not well aligned, not properly formatted, it's going to throw off the recruiter just mere looking at your resume, and it's just going to dump it somewhere. And that's for those ones that gets to the recruiter, and if at all it passes through the ATS software. So let me show you the different types of formats that you can use for your resume. So the right resume format captures the attention of hiring managers and determines how well you're going to pass. I talked about this through the ATS software. They look at all this. These guys do a lot of work. They don't just want to bring anyone into their company, so they do diligent work to get the right person, the right candidate into their company. So there are 3 different types of resume formats. The first one is chronological format. The second one is functional. The third one is the hybrid. I'm going to tell you more about all this in a minute. This format lists your work experience in order, starting from the most recent, like the example that we shared. You start from where you're currently working. Let's say I'm currently working in company A, B, and C, and I started in January, and you just put January 2020 to present. And then the one under that one should carry your end date starting from December, because you started January. So the end date of the next one should be December, or from so year to December. That should be your end date, because that was when you stopped that job. If there's a gap, remember I talked about this before. If you have September 2019 in your previous job and you have January 2020 in your current job, there's a 3-month gap. And please be ready to provide answers if you get a call. This chronological format is best for those whose work experience is closely related to the current job that is being advertised. So this is the format, not the functional. So this format emphasizes your qualification and accomplishment instead of stating your specific role. Remember here in the first one, we talked about your role, the experience you had, and all that, the company you work for. It talked more about your job. But this functional is just talking about your qualifications, your accomplishments, and this is why I said people don't really use it. They don't care about what you accomplished, but they want to see what you have done. They want to see how you have done it. They want to see the result, which is why I said this. People don't really use this these days. They just go ahead and use this chronological and hybrid. And this is best for those who want to highlight their skills and seeking to change their career. So the next one is the hybrid. This one is commonly used these days because it shows your skills at the top of the resume and before stating your work history. This is a sample of the one I used when I started this webinar. This format, this hybrid, is that format because it states from top all the way down, starting from your name, talking about you, your summary, your skills, and then your work experience. So this is best for those who have mixed relevant skills and similar work experience. Like what I said earlier, that's what I do. From my experience, I wish I have the opportunity to share my resume with you so you see how my career, I have over 12 years experience, corporate experience, and that progression started from, being a client service officer from an advertising company, moving ahead to a sales department of a company, moving ahead to marketing, moving ahead to product management, moving ahead to research, moving ahead to supply chain. Right now, my current role is a financial analyst. You can see how all this intertwined falls in this hybrid format because you have mixed relevant skills but similar job experience because all of them have to do with analyzing data at different points in time. So, I'm going to tell you the do's and don'ts of resume formatting. Formatting your resume is very important. I tell you that. But let me tell you the do's first. Use traditional fonts like Helvetica, Garamond, and every Word document has this font. So don't go ahead using beautiful looking font because you want to impress the recruiter. No, this is distracting. So that is very important. Use traditional fonts. Fonts are very important when you're writing your resume. Use very, very good fonts. There's three fonts that I stated here, examples of the fonts you can use in your resume. Use standardized resume headings like work experience. Some people try to make fun with it, where I've worked before, just to look different. ATS does not recognize where I've worked before or what I've been doing before. No, use work experience as your subheading or section heading. Like you want to talk about education. Education is education. Don't say the schools I attended. ATS will not pick that, so it will end up trashing your resume. So use standardized resume section heading. Work experience, education, and all that. So, and the last do's that I'm going to tell you about in this webinar is that you always save your resume as a doc file format, which is Microsoft Word. That's the doc format. So use the Word document to write your resume. I mean, some people accept PDF, but the highly recommended format is Microsoft Word. So we move to the do's. What are the don'ts of your resume formatting? The first one, avoid using functional resume format. I talked about this. It's not advisable to use that, at this time. A lot of people are going ahead to talk about it's a very competitive landscape. There are many people out there looking. You can imagine a single role that is being advertised can get as much as 600, 1,005 resumes. The first thing they do when they see your name is to go to LinkedIn to go and see what you're up to on LinkedIn. You can get a call even with your LinkedIn profile. I've got several calls like that, without applying for any job. So that's another tip I'm giving you. Make sure you represent yourself very well on LinkedIn. It's very important. So don't use functional resume. That's my advice to you. But it has not worked for a lot of people. It's not advisable, so don't use that. The last one is don't use header or footer, as the information might get lost. If you know about header and footer, it's kind of cut off, it grays out your information. But when you click on it, you can see it and edit it. But don't do that because it might cut off some of the things you're trying to say. So it's not advisable to do that when you're formatting your resume. So do we have questions? You can go ahead and type your questions. I'm waiting to receive questions. That's for this presentation. And once again, I would like to, I see a question. Let me read out the question. Is it advisable to use same template for all applications? Okay, I'm going to say that it's not advisable to use the same template. Okay, I have two questions. Thank you, Peter, and thank you, Gal, for asking this question. Let me answer Gal's question first. Gal says, is it advisable to use the same resume for all applications? No, don't do that. Because your resume, it says something about a role or about you, quite all right, but make sure you look at the role you're applying for. The role you're applying for should determine the kind of resume you're sending. Let your resume align with the role you're applying for. So no, it's not advisable. You can have as many resumes as possible. And, that's why I said I'm going to send you all the different types of formats that you can use. Just keep adjusting your resume to fit the role you're applying for, because you can't use one cap fit all for all roles you're applying for. So just take note about that. And Peter says, can we download the template sample? Oh, yes. I'm going to send it to you. I will send you all the templates. It's downloadable and editable. You will get it at the end of this webinar. And I have another question from Gal. He says, can one use PowerPoint resume template to apply? No. I mentioned that already. Do not use PowerPoint template to apply for a job. It has to be in Word document document, because Word document is what is recognizable by ATS. It's going to pass through the ATS, the applicant tracking system. If you do not use it, the company that you're applying to will use it. And when they use it, it's going to trash your resume. Please don't use PowerPoint resume template. Use a Word document template to apply. And by the time I send you the template, you will see what I am talking about. Okay. Thank you so much for sending in your question. You can ask me more questions.